Let's talk about trespass. Now, when you hear that word, you probably think of a sign on a fence, but it's so much more than that. Think of it as the law drawing these invisible boundaries, these personal force fields around you, your home, and even your stuff. It's a really foundational idea, so today, we're going to trace those invisible lines and figure out what they really protect. So, let's start with a bit of a riddle. What on earth do a neighbor's fence, a completely unwanted touch, and someone just picking up and moving your laptop, what do they all have in common? I mean, they seem totally different, right? Land, body, object. But believe it or not, they're all tied together by one single, incredibly powerful legal idea. And that's what we're going to unpack today. All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll get a solid definition of what trespass actually is. Then we'll dive into the three big categories: trespass to your land, trespass to you, your person, and trespass to your goods. And then we'll pull it all together and reveal that one core principle that makes it all tick. Okay, section 1. So what is trespass really? Well, at its absolute core, it all boils down to one simple phrase: an unreasonable interference. Here's the textbook definition. Trespass is an unreasonable interference with one's person and property. But the part you really need to zero in on is at the end there. Intention is an essential component. This is huge. We're not talking about accidents here. For it to be trespass, someone has to have meant to do the act. And this is not some new idea. This is a classic legal text, and it calls it an unjustifiable intrusion. I love those words. Unjustifiable, meaning you don't have a good reason, and intrusion, you're crossing a line you're not supposed to cross. It's that simple. All right, let's start with the one we all know best: trespass to land. This is all about that boundary around your physical space, your property, the ground you stand on. So what does that actually look like? Well, the Trespass Act gets pretty specific. It's not just about hopping a fence without an excuse. It's also about staying on the land after someone asks you to leave, or putting something on it, like building a shed that hangs over the property line. Even something like digging up a garden or letting your cows wander over to graze. Yep, that all counts. And right here, we hit on an absolutely crucial legal concept. Get this phrase into your head: actionable per se. It sounds fancy, but what it means is a total game changer. It means you don't have to prove you suffered any damage. The simple act of them being on your land is enough to make a claim. This is the golden thread we're going to see woven through this entire topic, so remember it. Okay, so we've established the boundary around your land. Now the law draws an even more important, more intimate line: the one around your own body. The law is crystal clear on this. Everyone has the right to be free from interference with their body. And this right is so important that the law actually breaks it down into three separate wrongs, or torts. You've got assault, which is all about the threat. You've got battery, which is the actual physical contact. And then you have false imprisonment, which is about being restrained against your will. Now, people mix up assault and battery all the time, so let's clear this up. Assault is the thing that makes you afraid you're about to be hit. It's the swung fist that misses. It protects you from the fear and anxiety of a threat. Battery is the moment of contact. It's the intentional touch, and the law says even the least touching in anger is enough. It protects you from any contact you didn't agree to. The third piece of this puzzle is false imprisonment. And this isn't necessarily about jail cells. It's about any time someone restrains you, confines you, without any legal right to do so. The whole idea is the total loss of your freedom to move, even if it's just for a minute. But, and this is the key, for it to legally be false imprisonment, the restraint has to be complete, total. You can't just be blocked from going one way if there are other reasonable ways for you to go. There's this classic old case, Bird v. Jones, that explains it perfectly. Imagine a bridge. One of the footpaths is blocked off for an event. A man insists on using that path and gets stopped. He claims it's false imprisonment, but the court basically said nope. Why? Because he could have just turned around and used the footpath on the other side of the bridge. His movement wasn't totally stopped. He had a reasonable escape route. So we've protected your land, we've protected your body. So what's left? Well, the law extends that protective boundary one step further, to your stuff, your possessions. And just like before, the law has specific tools for this. There's detenu. That's when someone won't give your stuff back. There's trespass to goods, which could be as simple as moving something or touching it. But the one we're going to zoom in on, the really big one, is called conversion. So what does conversion actually mean? Well, think of it as someone treating your property as if it's their own. They're acting in a way that's just completely inconsistent with your rights as the owner. They could take it, They could destroy it, they could use it, not just moving your bike, but taking it for a joyride. Or they could even just receive it, knowing it wasn't theirs to take. All of those deny your rights to your own property. Okay, we've gone through land, people, and goods. They all seem like separate little boxes. But now we're going to bring it all home and reveal that single, powerful principle that ties them all together, the thing that gives the law of trespass its real teeth. Take a look at that number, 0. That's it. That is the amount of financial damage, the amount of harm you have to prove to have a valid claim for trespass. Whether someone steps on your grass, touches you without permission, or moves your laptop, it doesn't matter if it didn't cost you a penny. And this brings us right back home to our golden thread. Actionable per se. The act is actionable by itself. Trespass to land, person, and goods are all about protecting the right itself, not just paying you back for any damage. The violation of your personal boundary, that's the injury. So why is this so important? What's the big takeaway here? It's that the law sees our personal boundaries around our land, our bodies, and our things as secret. By making any intrusion actionable without needing to prove you were hurt, the law is screaming that your right to be left alone has value all on its own. It confirms that your rights matter, even if you weren't financially or physically harmed. And that, right there, is the ultimate shield for our personal freedom.